The shimmering, obsidian surface of the council chamber hummed with barely contained tension. Across the vast expanse, bathed in the ethereal glow of the central prism, the assembled delegates of the Galactic Concordance shifted. Their myriad forms a kaleidoscope of apprehension. From the crystalline elegance of the krill, whose bodies resonated with the ambient energy, to the hulking biomechanical forms of the Zidon, whose internal processors ticked with the rhythm of impending war, every sentient being present radiated a palpable sense of dread. At the heart of it all, suspended in a gravity well that felt like a cage, was the subject of their debate: humanity, the species from a solitary planet Earth. The lead krill delegate, known only as the Arbiter, its crystalline form radiating a cold blue light, initiated the proceedings. The data is irrefutable. Their expansion rate has been exponential, their technological advancement alarming. Their aggression, while initially subtle, is now undeniable. The Arbiter's voice, a chorus of crystalline chimes, echoed through the chamber, each syllable carrying the weight of centuries of galactic law and precedent. A low growl emanated from the Zidon representative, its metallic limbs scraping against the polished floor. They are primitives. Their reliance on crude weaponry, their limited understanding of the fundamental forces, it is an insult to the Concordance that we even consider them a threat. The Zidon's tone dripped with disdain, a sentiment shared by many within the chamber. Humanity, in their eyes, were a nuisance, a chaotic variable in a carefully orchestrated cosmic equation. Yet their rapid progress, their insatiable curiosity, and their unpredictable nature had sown seeds of uncertainty and fear. A hush fell over the chamber as the oldest member, the enigmatic Sylvan, a being of pure energy contained within a shifting nebula-like form, spoke. Arrogance blinds us. We dismiss the Cathar as primitive, and they nearly consumed the outer rim. We belittled the Atral, and they crippled the trade routes for 3 cycles. Humanity is different. They adapt. They learn. And they do so with a speed we have rarely witnessed. The Sylvan's voice resonated with the wisdom of millennia, its words a sobering reminder of past follies. The Arbiter, ever the pragmatist, responded, regardless of their capacity for adaptation, they have refused to comply with Concordance law. Their planetary defenses are escalating. Their communication patterns are erratic. They have ignored all attempts at diplomatic contact. The conclusion is inescapable. They are a threat. We must enforce the surrender order. A wave of uneasy murmurs rippled through the chamber. Enforcing a surrender order meant the deployment of the Concordance fleet, a force rarely used and only in the direst of circumstances. The thought sent a chill through the room. A smaller, insectoid delegate, the Vesp, known for its nervous energy, buzzed frantically. But the cost! Such a move would be costly in resources and lives. It is a war we do not need. The Vesp's antennae twitched, its multifaceted eyes darting around the chamber. Perhaps there is another way, negotiations, a compromise? The Zidon scoffed, its metallic jaws grinding. Compromise with savages? Preposterous. They will understand the consequences of defiance when our ships are in orbit. The Sylvan spoke again, its nebula form shifting, the colors deepening to an ominous crimson. We do not understand them. We do not know their motivations. And we certainly do not know their capabilities. To launch a full-scale assault without proper assessment would be reckless. We have faced threats before, but never one so enigmatic, so human. The word hung in the air, heavy with unspoken questions. The Arbiter, sensing the wavering resolve, brought the discussion to a close. The surrender order stands. A final diplomatic message will be transmitted. If they refuse, the fleet will be mobilized. The vote is now in session. Holographic projectors flickered to life, displaying voting panels before each delegate. The fate of humanity, of Earth, hung in the balance, a single celestial body amidst a sea of stars and cosmic dust. The hours that followed were a torment. The council chamber, once a beacon of order and diplomacy, was now a crucible of fear and apprehension. The diplomatic message, a final ultimatum, was crafted with meticulous precision, outlining the consequences of defiance. Transmission sent. Waiting. The silence was the worst part. Every tick of the chronometer, every flicker of light ratcheted up the tension. The Concordance fleet, a sprawling armada of battle cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels, was on full alert, poised to strike. Their weapons were charged, their shields primed, their crews locked and loaded. The possibility of war, of the annihilation of an entire species, weighed heavily on every member of the Council. Then the message came, a reply, from Earth. The Arbiter's crystalline form pulsed with a cold, blue light as it accessed the transmission. The image on the main screen shifted, resolving into a single, high-resolution feed from the surface of Earth. The view was of a gleaming, metallic structure, clearly a spaceport, set against a backdrop of a vibrant blue planet. In the center of the frame, there was a man. A human. He was standing on a platform in front of a group of other humans, all dressed in uniforms of some kind. They were all looking directly at the camera. The Arbiter scanned the message, running diagnostic checks, attempting to interpret the meaning. The lead Krill delegate struggled to translate what it was seeing. They have responded, the Arbiter announced, its voice strained. But the message, the Arbiter paused, seemingly confused. It is a smile. A collective gasp swept through the council chamber. The Zidon's metallic jaws snapped open in disbelief. The Vesp's buzzing intensified into a high-pitched whine. The Sylvan's nebula form pulsed and churned. A smile, after an ultimatum of surrender, after the threat of interstellar war. They find this amusing, the Zidon boomed, incredulous. The Arbiter, its crystalline form vibrating with suppressed frustration, replayed the transmission. The human, a man with a weathered face and eyes that held an unfathomable depth, stood on the platform, and he smiled. A genuine, confident, almost welcoming smile. The image lingered, a digital defiance that transcended language barriers and cultural misunderstandings. It was a simple act, a small gesture, but in the context of their shared reality, it was an act of profound and terrifying ambiguity. More messages followed. Each was brief. Each expressed in human language and imagery the same thing, the same smile. No threats, no boasts, no pleas, just the same unwavering smile. The data from Earth sensors was showing the same pattern. No escalating military mobilization, no defensive maneuvers, nothing. The humans simply smiled. The Council was in chaos. The Zidon, enraged, demanded immediate action. The Vesp, paralyzed by fear, advocated for further diplomacy. The Sylvan, ever the voice of caution, attempted to mediate to understand the meaning behind the gesture. The Arbiter, struggling to maintain order, called for a recess. The atmosphere in the council chamber was electric with tension. The concordance was built on logic, on predictable patterns, on the clear delineation of friend and foe. Humanity, with their cryptic smiles, had shattered that illusion. They were a question mark, an anomaly, a threat that they didn't understand, and that was far more dangerous than any weapon. Days turned into weeks. The council remained deadlocked. The fleet remained on standby. The humans on Earth continued to smile. Then the first human ship arrived. It appeared slowly out of the warp, a sleek, elegant vessel of a design unlike anything the Concordance had ever seen. Its hull was a deep, obsidian black, reflecting the light of distant stars. It was not a warship, not in the traditional sense. It was sleek, almost organic, with no visible weaponry. The ship, which was now in orbit of the capital world, emitted a signal, a complex pattern of waves that the Concordance could not identify. It was a message of sorts, a communication, but encoded in a language that baffled all the assembled minds. The ship did not attack. It did not threaten. It simply waited. Finally, the Arbiter authorized a boarding party. The boarding party, comprised of Krill, Zidon, and Vesp, entered the vessel cautiously, their weapons drawn, their senses on high alert. They moved through the ship's corridors, expecting an ambush, a trap, a hostile environment. But the ship was empty. There was no crew, no life signs. The ship was silent, sterile, and eerily perfect. The boarding party continued their search. They encountered a large central chamber. In the middle of the chamber was a single metallic pedestal. On the pedestal sat a small object. It was a sphere. A perfect sphere crafted from a material unknown to the Concordance. Then the sphere activated. A holographic image flickered to life. It was another human, a woman. She stood with a calm, inviting expression. She smiled. Greetings, her voice, translated instantly into the common tongue, filled the chamber. We are humanity, and we welcome you. The woman continued to speak, her voice calm, clear, and devoid of aggression. She explained that the ship was a gift, a demonstration of their goodwill. They had anticipated the arrival of the Council and wished to offer a token of their intentions. They did not wish to fight. They wished to understand. They wished to learn. As the woman spoke, the holographic image shifted, displaying complex diagrams and schematics. The diagrams revealed the ship's systems, its construction, its capabilities. It was a marvel of engineering, a testament to humanity's ingenuity. The boarding party, awestruck, retreated. They returned to the council, bearing the sphere and its holographic message. The chamber erupted again. The Zidon raged. The Vesp quivered with uncertainty. The Sylvan remained silent, its nebula form swirling with curiosity. The Arbiter, processing the data, found itself intrigued. The holographic message continued to play, revealing more. Humanity's intentions, their understanding of the universe, their history, their culture. They were not the brutes the Concordance had assumed. They were not primitive. They were something else entirely. The Arbiter, after conferring with the other delegates, took a decisive action. They sent a message back to Earth. A formal invitation to begin diplomatic negotiations. Months passed. The initial reluctance of the Council dissolved into curiosity, then into respect. Human diplomats, led by the smiling man from the initial transmission, arrived on the capital world. They were met with suspicion, caution, and a fair dose of awe. They were not the stereotypical humans the Council had come to expect. They were rational, polite, and unfailingly optimistic. They were also incredibly intelligent. The human diplomats representing Earth calmly explained their philosophy. They described a history marked by conflict and progress. They explained their values, curiosity, collaboration, and a profound respect for life. They revealed their technologies, their knowledge of the universe, and their capabilities. It was a knowledge of science, of engineering, and of diplomacy that had the assembled representatives of the Galactic Concordance reeling. The Council, in turn, shared their own history, their own values, and their own understanding of the universe. They shared their fears, their prejudices, and their mistakes. Slowly, carefully, humanity and the Concordance began to understand each other. They found common ground. They discovered shared goals. They began to cooperate. The initial fear of humanity had morphed into a grudging respect, then into genuine admiration. The humans, with their uncanny ability to think outside the box, their unwavering optimism, and their deep-seated ethical values, had managed to break through the rigid structures of the Concordance. Then came the first major reveal. The humans presented the Concordance with a revolutionary technology, the ability to bypass the warp drive limitations that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. The implications were staggering. They could traverse vast distances. They could explore new worlds. They could unite the galaxy. The Zidon, initially skeptical, were forced to admit that this was indeed a breakthrough that had eluded them for centuries. But the humans didn't stop there. They proposed a radical new approach to galactic politics. They suggested the expansion of the Concordance, the inclusion of new species, the creation of a truly unified galactic community. The humans saw the potential for growth. They saw the potential for peace. They saw a future where all beings could thrive. The Arbiter, seeing the value in the proposal, supported it. The other delegates followed, slowly, carefully, one by one. Slowly, painstakingly, a new era dawned. The humans, with their calm professionalism, their unexpected logic, and their unwavering ethics, were becoming the architects of a new galactic civilization. They had come to the Concordance not to conquer, but to collaborate, to build, to learn, and to smile. The Galactic Concordance, reshaped and reimagined, began its new purpose: exploration, learning, and above all, collaboration. Humanity, the newcomers, the ones who had been met with suspicion, were now at the vanguard of the expansion. A fleet was assembled. A fleet not of war, but of discovery. Ships of many different species, crewed by crews of mixed races. And the lead vessel, the first ship to breach the galactic barrier, was the Hope, a ship built by humans, a testament to their unwavering spirit and their belief in the future. The humans, now respected and admired, prepared to take their place in the galactic community. They had faced down the arrogance of the Zidon, the fear of the Vesp, and the cold calculations of the Krill. They had done it with a smile. It was their symbol, their motto, their signal of peace. But the smile was not the end. It was the beginning. It was during the final ceremony, when the Hope was unveiled before the Council, that the twist was revealed. The smiling man, the human diplomat who had led the negotiations, stepped onto the podium and addressed the assembled delegates. He spoke with his usual calm, his voice filled with quiet confidence. "We have come a long way," he said. "We have faced many challenges. We have learned much, but the journey is not over. It has only just begun." He then revealed the reason for the expansion, the reason for the creation of the Hope. Not just exploration, not just understanding. There was a greater purpose. "For centuries," he continued, "we have been receiving a signal, a faint, almost undetectable signal emanating from the deepest reaches of the galaxy, a signal that predates even the oldest races in the Concordance." The delegates leaned forward, their senses on full alert. An ancient signal, the implications were staggering. What could it be? What had it been sent by? "We have traced the signal to a region far beyond the known boundaries of the galaxy," the diplomat continued, his eyes twinkling. "A region we have designated the frontier." The holographic display behind him flickered to life, showing the trajectory of the signal. The route cut across the known galactic map, heading directly into the void. "We believe this signal is a message," the human said, "a call for help." The holographic display shifted again, revealing a detailed scan of the frontier. What the Council saw was a gigantic, abandoned megastructure. It was enormous. It was a remnant of a lost civilization. It was an enigma. It was a threat. "We believe," the human continued, his voice taking on a new urgency, "that this megastructure is the source of the signal. It may be a beacon. It may be a warning. We do not know. But we must find out." The camera panned over the interior of the Council chamber. The Zidon's metallic faceplates were now a mask of fear. The Vesp's antennae were twitching with a frantic urgency. The Sylvan's nebula form was churning with a mixture of excitement and dread. The Arbiter's crystalline form pulsed with a new, complex energy, calculating the odds. "We have reason to believe," the diplomat continued, "that the civilization that built this structure is no longer alive." A wave of stunned silence rolled through the council chamber. The implications were almost too much to bear. "We also know," he continued with that same unsettling smile, "that they did not die quietly." Then, with a flourish, he revealed the core of the message, the core of the megastructure. He pulled up a complex image, a scan of the interior of the megastructure. And at the heart of the structure lay a message, an image, a warning. The camera focused on the image. It showed a symbol. A symbol that would send a chill through the room. A symbol that had been repeated by all the ancient fallen empires. The symbol of the destroyers. The camera zoomed in. The last shot was of the human. He looked directly at the camera and his smile didn't falter. He knew, he understood the implications of all of this. It was a declaration of war, a war with forces that humanity knew that the other races had forgotten. The signal, the frontier, the destroyers, the fight for galactic survival. The camera moved back to capture the reactions of the assembled delegates. They were now a mix of fear, dread, and a new kind of wonder. The humans, the ones who smiled, the ones who had been dismissed, had now opened the door to a new reality. The camera then showed the *Hope* entering warp, speeding off towards the frontier. The camera then did one last shot of the human diplomat. As the camera moved in, he said with an unfaltering grin, "Let's go." The camera pulled back, showing the crew on the bridge. Every alien species was present, with every human all focused, all ready for the coming fight. The camera then cut to black. The only thing the audience heard was the sound of a heartbeat. It was a human heartbeat. Fade out.